On this episode, we drag home this 1938 Ford Project Ranch truck, give it all new front and rear suspension while boxing the original chassis. We're going to show you exactly how we do it from the hot rod shop, so let's get into it right now. So the first process here is done, which is welding in the boxing plates supplied by the Heights front suspension. So I've got those all welded. I'm just gonna dress them real quick, and then we are ready for the Crossmember. So we'll get that one mocked up, and we should have front suspension on this in the next hour. The original Crossmember was riveted, and so I've got a bracket or bracketry that's still inside of the frame rail. So what I'm gonna do is just make an extension for that boxing plate, so it brings it right up here to the end of this bracket. I'll weld this and I'll encapsulate this, and I think it'll look real clean and just aesthetics, not really strength. But I'm just gonna make two little boxing plates that are about 2 inch long on each side, and then we're done. We can get the Crossmember in. The old trick of using your dirty finger to make an indentation mark on the paper. It's as easy as that. So right here, if you notice, this is the VIN number on the frame rail. So I was really careful with welding. I've got a tiny little pit right there, but I'm not even gonna worry about it because I want to preserve that VIN number for registration. Okay, so I just scribed, or not even scribed, but I just markered in a line all the way across each frame rail. And if you notice, if you come right here, I'm about 1/4 of an inch off. So the reason being is that this frame rail coming up is not square. So I know that this line is my accurate line on both sides. So again, that's why I use the straight edge. And I'm just gonna line it up on each frame rail with that mark. And I will mark it coming across here. And if you look as I pull this away, that line comes across and it lines up with my inner mark. So I know that this one is incorrect. This is my correct center line right here. Both frame rails are marked with a blue Sharpie axle center line. Then I marked the center line of the front crossmember. Once all three of those marks have been in place, I simply line up the front crossmember, blue Sharpie mark, to the frame rail, blue Sharpie mark. This simply ensures that I am precise with my wheelbase measurement. I tack it in place. With the lower control arms mounted and in place on the lower crossmember, I move to installation of the upper chassis top hats. It's the same method here as I find the center of the top hats and simply line up my blue Sharpie mark with the mark on the chassis rails. All right, so it's the same method. It's the same method once again for the scribe line across the chassis. I've measured forward 1 inch and 9/16 on each side, but I'm going to use a straight bar to scribe my line. So I've got my mark here and I've got my mark here. And this is how I'll draw the line straight across the chassis. As opposed to, if you were to use a square, your line would be way out like this, at an angle, like that, right? So make sure when you are doing one of these setups and you're scribing a line for the top hats, you go straight across the chassis, just like that. Now, when you hold the cup up here, it's perfectly in line. Okay, it's done, it's welded, the cross member is in place. I don't know, what can I say? I can't really brag on, you know, the overall like condition of it, you know. It's quick welds, they're strong, they look decent. We're gonna leave the cross member in raw bare metal so it rusts just like the rest of the chassis. But you know, literally, like, this is what we're working with, this chassis here, it's nasty. So, it was dirty welding, but it's strong. So all in all, by the time we boxed the frame rails, got the cross member in, and got the two upper hats fitted, aligned, and welded, I think it was about 4 or 4.5 hours. And that's what we need to do when we're building an 8-week turnaround project. So happy with it. We're going to start bolting up the suspension. I got to remove my brace that sits in the front of the frame rails, and then we'll have front suspension on this thing by the end of the day.
With the Heights Mustang 2 front suspension secured and welded in place, I remove my front brace, and it is so rewarding to see the new front suspension on this vintage Ford pickup. Now, it's a simple installation of the front components to complete the Mustang 2 independent front suspension.
And as you saw, I got the front end together. This is all Mustang 2 from Heights Fabrication. Pretty easy kit. There's millions of videos online if you're curious about doing this, but basically we boxed the frame rails, installed the kit. We just MIG welded everything, and as you can see, the cross member itself is still in the raw. What I'm hoping is that it's gonna rust and it'll match the original chassis and it'll all kind of look the same. We did paint the A-arms and the coil springs and also the spindles, but the chassis is still going to be rusted. So now we're here tonight. I'm going to install the rack and pinion steering. On these particular ones, I like to run the manual steering because for me, driving a Mustang 2 front suspension on a classic car like this or a truck, the power steering is all over the place. It's really darty and really sharp. It almost feels like a Formula F1 car. It's not smooth and comfortable. It's darty. So by running the manual box or the manual rack and pinion, this thing is a little bit mellower on the highway. Yeah, you got to turn it a little bit harder and use your muscle in the parking lot, but that's easy. So let's jam and get the front end together while Ethan is working on boxing the rear frame rails because we have installed a leaf spring kit in the rear. So we are going to get to work while the sun is setting. Let's do it.
Simply with 2 bolts, the rack and pinion steering is mounted in place forever. Next up, driver and passenger side tie rods.
Oh yeah, we're good. Okay, great news.
Then, with an impact driver, I secure the upper control arm bolts.
All right, steering is done. Next up, shocks.
A little clearance is needed on the lower shock mounts, so with a grinder we make the change and bolt the lower shocks in place. Front shocks complete. Now let's install the front Zerk fittings in the tie rods.
There it is. The Mustang 2 front suspension in a 1938 Ford pickup.
Welcome back. It's a beautiful Saturday. We're here at Mackey's Hot Rods, the greatest place in America. We're working on the Bonneville Bomber here. Today, big things are happening. So quick update. Whoa. Quick update. Pretty much the whole front suspension is complete and installed, mocked up. Today I will be on rear suspension, trying to complete it. We've got an axle. We've got new mounts, leaf springs. Everything is all set up. Just got to put the axle in, find our angles and everything, tack up the new mounts, and then we'll be able to put the cross member in, the shocks in. Rear will be good. And yeah, this thing is on the way. It's going to be big progress today, so check it out.
Hell yeah. All right.
Let's get to work.
The original rear crossmember was absolutely obliterated on this original 1938 Ford pickup. So we simply opted to buy a kit from Speedway Motors, which gives us parallel leaf springs. In the kit comes all of the bracketry, the leaf springs, the bolts, all the hardware, and even the shackles. Once installed, gives you a great ride quality and lowers the truck about 3 inches in the rear. With the leaf springs mounted in place, Ethan prepares the axle pads for welding onto the rear differential. For this build, we're using a Ford 8-inch rear axle from a mid to late 60s Mustang or Falcon. These little rear axles are relatively inexpensive, and they have the perfect 58-inch wheelbase for these early Ford pickups. As you can see here, Ethan marks the center of the housing so we can easily center the axle in between the original frame rails. Once we have it centered, we use the U-bolts and the spring plates to bolt the rear end in place before we set the pinion angle. With the pinion angle set, we then mock up the supplied upper shock mount crossmember. Once verified that it's in the proper location, we double check the fitment by installing the shocks themselves on the lower spring plates. Everything looks good, so we tack that upper crossmember in place, and that is a wrap.
Okay, we officially have everything set up, all in place, all tacked together. We got the axle in, the cross member in, the shocks are in, all the bracketry, the U-bolts are holding everything together. So now it's time to pull it all apart. Now that it's tacked together, really weld it all up, get it nice and strong. And we should be good to put it back together. Final, ready to party. So we decided to build this truck, I think probably 7 weeks before the actual Bonneville event. And we've only worked on this, pretty much only worked on this after work. So it's kind of like some long nights at the shop, some Saturdays like today at the shop, but it's going to be worth it when we're hauling butt 80 miles an hour down the freeway all the way to Bonneville. So it's exciting. I'm really stoked to be here, not bummed about it at all.
axle pads get welded to the housing, and the disassembly process begins of this original 1960s Ford rear axle. The oil looks good, but we still opt to pull the entire thing apart to replace all bearings, gears, and axle wheel bearings.
All right, the sun is setting. It is after hours once again. How many times have I said it, but it's true. We're working double shifts, and Ethan got the axle stripped down. Housing is going to powder coat. All the gears are going to the rebuilder at J&S, so we're good. We're greasy, but we're good. We're headed home. We're going to call it a night. Anything else you got? Until tomorrow, we're right back to the start.
Yes. We're on track. We'll see you at Bonneville with the green truck.
Thanks for watching, you guys. We'll see you on the next episode.
What have you been learning while you've been building this car?
I've been learning that rust kind of sucks a lot. And no matter how many times you work on this and sweep up, the next day, like, equal amount of dirt falls out of it somehow. I vacuumed it like 5 times. It's still just a dirty girl. So.